Breaking news, update on the modern Rockville project. For a quick recap, everything west on 465 on Rockville Road is also known as State Road 36. Starting next year or in 2025, INDOT will be completely redoing that section from Indianapolis to Avon, probably to a little bit beyond that. So in light of that, I made a video explaining everything that's going on, what the problems are, what we could do to fix them, and what we could do to stop the project. After that, I sent out 250 mailers to everybody that lives on a Rockville Road and that surrounding area between High School Road and Girls School Road. I didn't get the responses that I thought I would, given the YouTube viewership, but the phone calls that I did get were very helpful and informative. One of them was from a retired truck driver that lives right off of Rockville Road. He made a great point, and I'm surprised they didn't think about it because it happened to me last summer. What are we going to do when a car breaks down? My car stalled out when I was coming home going east on Rockville Road, just past Girls School Road. Car stalled out, and I had to go over to the center median and then wait for a tow truck to bring me back home. So what are we going to do when a car gets stalled out? Where are they going to go? There's not enough room on the right-hand side. There's not going to be a center median in it anymore. And we can see that right now with the 465 finish line project. There's nowhere to get off. There's nowhere to pull over if you break down, have a flat tire, or get in a car accident. And I've seen this firsthand. One of the lanes gets clogged up, now it's bottlenecked, and you're having to wait for an hour or two for a tow truck or AAA to get you out of there. And while that's happening, now you have a giant traffic jam on 465. Another person that I talked to was the secretary of the RHGNA, the Rockville High School Girls School Road Neighborhood Association. We had a nice, long, pleasant conversation about our displeasure of the project and how we could possibly stop it. In fact, they've been having to fight this project since 2008. But since 80% of the money is being covered through the Fed, this project is probably still going to happen. In other words, there's not enough lawyers that you could throw on this project to fight INDOT for it to be stopped. So we'll have to come up with different methods, which I'll talk about towards the end of the video because I already started going through with that. So at this neighborhood meeting, JD Ford was there. He was giving an update on the project, his FOIA request, and his meeting with the governor's office, because I suspect any positive comment about this project, one, they probably don't live here, or two, they're bots or fake accounts of people from INDOT supporting this project, because they're obviously not listening to the people that live in the area that don't want this project. And another thing, I want to make it pretty clear, and they made it pretty clear at the neighborhood meeting. The only section that I'm mostly worried about is between Girls School and High School Road. That main section is highly residential. Everything going west after that, really not that too concerned about. It's more businesses and no residential. So when I talk about stopping this project, I'm just talking about this 1 mile section of the project, which I'm not too sure why INDOT has such a huge problem with that. They can do everything past that. So after the meeting, I asked JD Ford if I could get the extra comments and suggestions that he got from INDOT. He did send them over to me, and I combed through them, and there's a lot of good information on here, and some of it isn't that useful, but we're going to go through it in this video. While I was looking through the data that I got from JD Ford, I decided to do a little research on, do more lanes actually help with traffic congestion? So I went onto Google and I checked it out, and a lot of the articles are more inclined to environmental problems, redlining, sidewalks, bicycling, and not really about the data of, does it help with traffic congestion? Sometimes I will use Chat GPT on that, and the answer I got, no matter how I phrased the question, was, it depends. So there's no real data on if more lanes will decrease traffic congestion. So I want to make that pretty clear from the bat before we get started on this. Okay, let's get into it. First thing first, let's go to the Modern Rockville Road project, click on Project Overview, click on Project Documents. You're going to see the comment form, the presentation, the virtual recording, which is pretty much the same one since the beginning. But the comment form is where all this data I have is based on. And I'm going to show you, but a lot of this data is kind of skewed to show in favor of the Modern Rockville project. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But if you'd want to pause this video and just read through this questionnaire, some of you have probably already seen it. Some of you might be new to this whole thing and not sure of what's going on. But I recommend you go through the questionnaire because this is where all the data is based off of. So first thing is who responded? 52%. Slightly more than half of respondents live in Marion County. Now this might be my only opinion. Maybe it's a little esoteric, but I think the people that live in Marion County, especially the people that live in between High School Road and Grove School Road, should get priority over everybody else. That's where they live. There's some businesses right on that corner too. They're going to be the main people that are going to be affected by this whole project. So, number one problem, congestion, which we already know that. We know that there's a problem with traffic backups, and this project is going to make things worse. If you go to number 2 on here, they said motorist safety. Well, yeah, because if traffic is all backed up, the chance of getting in a rear end collision definitely increases. And then they talk about high school in 465, congestion, which we already know, need improvement to streets. The signal timing. This is key. I think this is key. This would be the number one thing that I would fix on Rockville Road before anything else. Let's fix the signal timing and then do a 1-year study on that. The aggressive drivers, which we already know about, and the nighttime visibility. This one I was a little bit surprised on, but I understand where they're coming from. So let's go to the questionnaire. And like they said, the people that live, that are doing this questionnaire, 48% don't live in Marion County. By the way, small detail on here, 0.04% from Mexico on this questionnaire. So you already know that the data is getting skewed right off the bat. With these zip codes, there's only 6 of them, but you can see there's 2355 count. Take it for what it's worth. This next section, do you work in Marion County? I think is pretty important. They show 2290 as a count, and they only have 15 zip codes on here, but still important because 9 of them don't even live in the area that the project will be happening. 5 are, and 2 of them are right on the border of Rockville, whether it's north or south. So even though we don't have the entire zip code list, I think it's still important to note that a lot of these people aren't even near the area. This part we already knew. Which section of Rockville do you frequently use? 465 the Raceway. No big deal there. This part is pretty important. What best describes your involvement with Rockville Road in Marion County? You can see that I own a property with frontage on Rockville Road, and I am a resident who lives in the immediate area. Those 2 should take priority over everybody else. These bottom 2, I use Rockville Road occasionally. I am interested member of the public. Just trying to get some info. Hey, it's like you got over 1,200 people on this survey that really have nothing to do with this project. How often do you typically drive on the Rockville Road in Marion County? Nearly every day, 821. That is a lot. Now, if you look on the very bottom, pretty low number. It's like 250 people, but they shouldn't even be included in the data. Like you barely drive down Rockville Road. What do you care? Probably another member of the interested public. Here, we already knew what was their number one concern, and that is congestion. At that number 2, by way off, is waiting to turn on the left and signal timing, which I don't know. It's kind of weird. I thought signal timing would be a little bit higher on priority, but there we go. Then please rank the following issues. Motorist safety. It is very interesting that they broke these into 2 different sections. I would have thought they would have put them in one whole section, but we already know safety is important because if you are congested in traffic, the likelihood of you getting rear-ended by somebody not paying attention really goes up. Here are all of the concerns for this. I do want you to note though, this is all 2020 data, which means it's 3 years old, but it's still kind of relevant because it's interesting to look at what people were going through back then. For example, just congestion. Another one, not available. Congestion, the sheer volume of cars daily. Too many stoplights. We know what that's like. Traffic congestion. And it just goes on and on and on. And another thing to note, these are all numbers. There's no names on here, so we don't know if these are real people or not, or if someone just loaded up the comment data, whether it's positive or negative. But the most of the part is better traffic flow can get backed up from to southbound 465. And then not enough lanes of traffic. Again, we don't know who that is. So if you want any of this information, just email me. I'll send it over to you. But it's 3 years old. All right, so January 2021. I focused a lot more on this than the 2020 because this is the most updated data that I have so far until JD Ford gets the rest of the FOIA request. And interesting point, 0.56% of unknown. Just want to point that out because it really does show that data can be skewed. No matter how little, nothing is ever 100% okay. Like it's never going to be 100% perfect. And mind you, we already have 1 year into this Avon calamity project. So again, I'm sure their viewpoint would change, their opinion would change because of that project on what Rockville needs the most. So getting into it, which of the following best describes your involvement with Rockville Road in Marion County? And what do we have? I own a property, I'm a resident, I operate a business in the immediate area. What are the four that we don't really care that much? I do not live in the immediate area, but use Rockville Road as part of my commute. Well, which part and how far? My business is not in the immediate area, but benefits from the US 36 corridor. The two that should not even be on here, I use Rockville Road occasionally. I am an interested member of the public. Right there. It's like that's a big amount between those two that are just saying, I don't live in the area, but I'm kind of interested in what's going on. And my opinion should count, even though I barely ever use it. Same thing as before. Please rank your preferred design solutions and adding travel lanes, which I thought was very interesting, but existing no build would be number 2, and then the other and displaced left turn intersections. Here's where I start having a problem with some of this stuff. Is if we had to put a 6-foot wide sidewalk shown on the left along the south side of Rockville Road for the north side of Rockville Road, please rank your preference. And this is kind of like pushing them into something. It's like, if we were to have something like this, what do you think we should do instead? And it's just kind of building up this whole case of, no, we really could use this. I think some of you know where we're going with it. You could use this, but what would you prefer? Because they're already feeding you the idea of that they're already going to do that. And for the next section, INDOT has option of installing low maintenance landscaping. Who wants to get paid to take care of the landscaping? And all these people would gladly take their money to do some lawn mowing. Okay, so after that, you have the in addition to existing traffic signals, what are the top locations where you would like to see gaps in the median for left turns? So there are 52 comments off of here, and we don't even know if they live here or not, which I'm not a big fan of. Like, we need to know if these people are real or not. They are just a number. So anybody can go in there and just make a comment online about the whole thing. And I will tell you, the majority of these people, they don't want it. They're just saying, leave it alone. We don't want anything to happen. This is BS. Just leave us alone. Because now what you're worried about is traffic bottlenecking somewhere else behind Rockville Road. And what are they going to do with that? Now they have to wait even longer. I mean, someone even talked about it in the July meeting when the Rockville project people have asked for questions and comments. And somebody explained in great detail on the different route that they're going to have to take. And they're having to go through like 5 or 8 different streets just to get back on the Rockville Road from their house, which is absolutely ridiculous. No one should have to do that. Next section, what other comments do you have to share with the project team? Well, there are 76 total and 48 do not want it. And I want to go over through a couple of these because they are very important and they make a very great point. One of them is just leave well enough alone and do not build or change anything. Sidewalks were installed along 6B Street and no one uses them. People still walk on the street in our yards. As dumb as people are today, if sidewalks were put along Rockville Road, you'll still have people walking in the road. Instead of collisions, you would have deaths from being run over. That is a very great point because I think all of us have seen this at one point where people just do not use the sidewalk. I don't know why, but they just prefer not to happen. Another one is while I am aware of growing businesses and traffic in Rockville Road, living in the area since 1984. By the way, I was born in 1984. Great year. When nothing was here but farmland and a few businesses. I travel often via 10th Street from 465 West. If changes for safety reasons need to be made for Rockville Road, fine. However, couldn't 10th Street be upgraded to multiple lanes all the way west beyond the traffic railroad viaduct in order to more effectively handle more traffic before making modifications to Rockville Road? Yes. Thank you for pointing that out because we all know that area gets highly congested. Here's the problem with that. This is federal money for state roads. 10th Street is not a state road. But great point. Indianapolis should do something about that. They won't, but another one, keep this one small. Install signs, keep right, accept the pass, and start ticketing for left lane campers. Great point. How many times I had to go to Avon twice today. Each time someone is going 35 miles per hour in the left lane. Should not be happening. I don't think people understand a cop can pull you over for going too slow. So if the speed limit is 45, you should be at least doing 45. For the people that are in the left lane, there should be 2 reasons why you're in the left lane. 1, to pass, and 2 is because you have the money to pay for a ticket for speeding. If neither of them apply to you, you should be in the right-hand lane. Pretty simple. So what do we know, and most importantly, what don't we know? Well, what we do know is, according to the data, the majority of people making these comments live in Marion County. Their number one problem with Rockville Road is the congestion, which I 100% agree. And we also know that the majority of the people making the comments do not want this project to happen. So what don't we know? Well, we don't know if the people making the positive comments are real people. We don't know if somebody made up fake profiles and just boosted up the comments so they could get this project rolling. We don't know if INDOT or if INDOT hired a firm to make positive comments to make this project go through. We do know is that the people making the decisions on this project do not live in the area. So they don't know about having to live through that Calamity Avon project. They don't know about the congestion on Rockville Road. They don't know of what most of us have to deal with every single day driving down Rockville Road. So why would they not care? Well, because it's all about money. We know that 80% of the project is going to be funded through the federal government, and INDOT's been trying to push this project for 15 years. Who makes these decisions? Well, one would think the Road and Transportation Committee for Indiana. So what I did was I found out who was on the Road and Transportation Committee, and I went through the public information that is available for everybody, and I found out what their phone numbers and their email addresses are. And the first thing that I did was that I messaged them. And surprisingly enough, the chair of the committee he messaged me back and he was a little freaked out, which, I don't blame him. I get it. But I wanted to make sure that he understood that I wasn't there to harass him. I wanted to make sure that he knew that we don't want this project to happen, and if there is anything that he can do to try and help us out. And he said that he'll look into it. Haven't heard anything back. Another chair member, he said that I needed to contact my local county commissioner about that, and I had to inform him that this is not a county road, this is a state road. So there's that. Everybody else, they either got their phone number blocked, is not being used anymore, or they did not message me back. So this week, I will be emailing all of them, and I suggest everybody email them, but using their actual state email, not their personal one. I'll be doing that as well, just to get more voices heard, just so they know that we don't want this project to happen. And they're not in session right now. So their helpers, their LAs, they will be able to get to them, and they should have a lot more time right now than they would normally have if they were in session. So when I talk about us having to jam this project up, this is what I mean. We have to find creative tactics of holding this project up until the next administration, because right now they have a bunch of money and they want to burn through it with this project. So they're a battering ram right now, and we need to just be that immovable object. But that is the summary that I have, and some of these opinions are mine. And if you have any comments or suggestions, go ahead and put them on the bottom, or you can email me. Until next time.